Good evening, baseball fans, and welcome back to Dan's Vintage Baseball PC. Do not be fooled by that fancy name. It's just me and some friends talking about baseball cards, and really excited about this episode because the friend we have is a good friend who I've known for now, I guess, probably about a year, and he has a channel. It's a very popular channel, and there's a reason it's a popular channel because it's a great channel. So I have had this ongoing discussion with our guest about collecting styles. And if you recall, when we did the video with Dylan, Double D Dylan, we had a very good conversation about our collecting styles when it came to like set building. This time it's going to be collection wide, whether you're a narrow or whether you're a broad collector. And I can admit to it, and we'll talk about it later. I am a broad collector. Our guest is a narrow collector. He has his own cards, as you can see. He's got his own pirate card, and he's got his own T206 card. And so let me bring him in now. Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. We've been talking about getting together since the national, and I've been busy and you've been busy, and we calendared this out about a month ahead of time to finally find a day, and at some point I'll have you on my channel too, but I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to that because I'm a big fan of Midlife Nation, as it's come to be known, because they're so into contributing. They're so into like what your questions are, and you get all this great feedback. And it's, I think, maybe of all the channels that I follow, it's the channel where the subscribers slash like contributors are so involved, and that to me is really impressive. And I really like when I get comments and interaction with people, but you get it like on a regular basis. So, kudos
Yeah.
to you on that.
Thank you. It's fun. It's really the whole basis for the channel. So it's definitely a focus, and I've tried to do things around it. So it's been a lot of fun.
So, we talk about, I generally interview my guests who are doing more sort of like, player collection, super collector, or a set super collector, or however. So I like to go into their collecting history, and then how they got into doing that player or set or whatever. But um, let's just talk about, because I know you've talked a lot about your history, and when we were on a live a couple of weeks ago, you talked about how your dad was involved in it, and I know in your last video you talked about how some of the changes in your life when you were a kid affected how you collected. So
Mhm.
tell us just like the short of the short version of Greg's entry into the hobby and how it's got you to where you are today.
Yeah, I mean, I literally remember, and I've mentioned this once or twice before, but a lot of people probably haven't heard it or whatever. But I remember the first time I saw a binder and pages to put cards in. We were at like a little yard sale, and they had some pages and a binder, and I was like, this is what I need. Like, I need this because I have cards, and now I will have a place to put them. And this is amazing. And it was like I was shot out of a cannon from that moment because now it felt like I had a home for my stuff. And I did Garbage Pail Kids in like 1986, and then in 1987 I started doing 87 Tops, and I just got more and more and more into it. And I started getting my dad to drive me to card shows, which I only found because of the back of the Beckett magazine would have a Holiday Inn show or a mall show or something. And then the best thing that ever happened was he got hooked. So then as soon as he got hooked, then it was like he was as excited to find a show as I was. So I did the normal 87, 88, 89, 90 like Fleer Donruss Tops thing, did sets, but quickly went away from wax and into singles. I was a Roger Clemens super collector. I'd go
Mhm.
through quarter boxes, and I looked at my cards so much. I literally had like a photographic memory of everyone I had. So I could go through a box, they'd have the dividers, and I'd go through and I would go through every card and I go, no, I don't have that one because I looked at them so much. I knew what I had and I knew what I didn't have. I remember one time I bought a double and I was like so disappointed in myself. Like I never bought doubles, but everything from M&M's cards to, Kellogg's cards to sunflower seed cards and my dad was a vintage collector, and so after I spent all my money, I would kind of tag her along where he was, and I'd look in the cases and I'd see, these cards that were just like beyond my comprehension, and the ones that stuck out to me the most were the tobacco cards, just because of the funny size. And I'd see Mr. Mint at the shows. Like I'd see him I saw him many times, and
Hmm.
he'd look in his case, and I'd see Honus Wagner T206s, and I was just like, this would be crazy to own this stuff. And then, short story long, I never really stopped collecting. I just kind of changed what I was doing in college. I did a lot of golf cards, the 81, 82 sets I built, and I was doing a lot of stuff with that. And then, I got married, and so we had no money for years, like no money. So I didn't have money to spend on stuff like cards. And, I just, once I started having a little bit more money, I started to buy a little bit more. And a lot of what I was drawn to were nostalgia cards. Like I remember like 8 or 9 years ago, I'm like, I want a Jose Canseco rated rookie. I'm gonna go buy it. And just, I'm gonna buy a Olympic Mark McGuire 85 tops, and so it was always percolating. And then I realized when Molly, my oldest daughter, she was a competitive golfer. So I would caddy for her at different tournaments, and she played high school. She was very good. And she, like her junior year of high school, even her sophomore year, she started talking about when she was going to stop playing. And that was the last sport that she stopped playing. She did softball and basketball and
Hmm.
soccer. The last sport that she stopped was golf. And I started thinking, man, so much of my life has revolved around my kids' sports and coaching their teams that if I don't kind of come up with something to do with my time when they're not doing sports anymore, I'm going to kind of go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and I mentioned the other day, I had some fairly significant health issues about
Hmm.
4 years ago, and that are still ongoing to a certain extent. And I'm just like, I need to have some distractions. I used to listen to talk radio all the time, and I'd get, by the time I got to work, I was just so upset. You know, I'm like, I
Just
can't do this.
yelling
I
at
can't
them.
do this. So I finally just said something's got to give. And so I'm like, I need to get into a hobby. I need to get back heavy into cards. And so I did.
So it's funny because my life has a lot of those things and a lot of parallels, and I can relate to pretty much all of that. Which is why I think when we have had our discussions, am I chopping up a little? I think I'm chopping up a little bit.
It chopped a little bit, but I'm
Okay.
with you.
So when we had our discussions, we talked about things like that, life things, and I like to talk about life things with people who, like yourself, have lived a good life, and you have kids and you have a nice marriage and you have a nice house and your dad's involved. I mean, it's a good life, and I like it and respect it. And I feel like I have some of the similar characteristics. But you and I also we talked about how our collecting styles are different.
Yeah.
So this is why I thought it was a good thing to bring you on. And you, in fact, those words, broad versus narrow, are your words.
Yeah.
I think it's a description that's easy to think about in the abstract. But I actually spent the prep time on this, putting together a list of everything that I collect, and I realized that I'm going to have to confess to you on camera that I have a problem.
Yeah. Now, Dan, I know you have a problem. And I first really realized you had a problem when we were at the National and I said, "Hey, you got any pickups?" And you said, "Yeah, I got this Duke Snyder for my Red Heart set that I'm working on, and I got this double header for my double header set that I'm working on." And you like right there, like just like you showed me like 10 cards that you had bought at the National. I mean, I remember talking, I remember this, and you were like, you had shared about 8 different projects that you were working on just with those pickups, and I'm like, dude,
It's
you
yeah,
got too much going on, man.
yeah. It's literally you can see it's 2 pages of like single spaced lists. So I, one of the things that I like to do, and we'll see this later on, is I like to collect a card that hits like multiple parts of the collection. So that gives me that gives me an out when I collect a card that like I just like because it looks good, but it doesn't fit anything. That's a problem. So just sets that I'm building: 52 Bowman, 53 Bowman slabbed upgrade, 54 Bowman, 54 Red Heart, 55 double headers, 67 tops, 68 tops, 69 tops, 70 tops autographs, 71 tops action shots in PSA high grade, and 72 tops. That's just sets.
That's just sets. That's a
I
lot of sets, man.
what was that? Cool
That's a
sets,
lot of
right?
sets. Yeah.
I also am sort of doing a modified version of the Mangini every set quest. So Mangini's quest is to get a card in every set. So
Yeah.
I like to
Yeah.
do that. Like if I see a card that I like and I'm like, I don't have a card in that set, I'll do that. I'll get that card. Um, so I also have team sets: 1914 Braves, 1948 Braves, Vintage Yankees, Golden Era Dodgers, pre-integration players, T206 New York Giants, and one of every vintage Hall of Famer. Right? I mean, that's
I
pretty
mean,
broad.
that's pretty broad. That's pretty broad. Yeah.
All right. I'm, I'm going to get through this quickly.
Okay.
Players that I PC: Tom Seaver, Thurman Munson, Bobby Mercer, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Bob Feller, Sandy Koufax, Warren Spahn, Roberto Clemente, Ted Williams, Johnny Mize, Al Rosen, Carl Hubble, Adufo Luque, and Reggie Jackson. Modified player PCs. In other words, I don't get every card, but I do collect them when I see them: Jackie Robinson, Bill Terry, Joe Cronin, Stan Musial, Yogi Berra, Hank Greenberg, Bill Dickey, Benny Koff, Larry Doyle, and players who have been featured on my channel. So, like, I bought a
Oh.
Zach Wheat card after I did the Zach Wheat show. I bought other cards after that. Player sets I have completed. I'm not player sets I have completed: 39 play ball Yankees, 48 Bowman. We'll see that later. 51 Burke Ross, 53 Bowman, 56 tops, 64 tops Giants, 70 tops, 71 tops basketball, which nobody on this channel has ever heard me say before. So
Mm.
that's what we got. It's a long list.
I
So
will
that's
say that
that's my problem.
the 71 tops basketball is a fantastic set.
Yeah, it's a nostalgia thing. It's also a basketball thing,
Hmm.
and it's also a Knicks thing because there's
Yeah.
all the classic Knicks are in there. So
Yeah.
it hits a lot of, and it's in a binder. I don't have any graded cards, but I'll do a show on it eventually. So let's we did some pictures. We did a slideshow. So let's see. So we I you sent me like I think 5 different sets of cards, and one of which was your sort of classic baseball players and their rookie cards, essentially, right?
Yeah, it's they're not all rookie cards. I might have sent mostly rookie cards, but there are certain classic players from, the 40s and 50s mostly where I there are certain cards and players that I like. And so I want some of those cards. And as a kid, the three that always stood out to me and I always wanted were these. I mean, even when I was not buying for years, uh, I was always at least once a month checking on what these three cards were selling for. And I was always looking for deals and watching auctions on eBay and things. I knew I didn't have the money to buy one, but I was always tracking these 3 cards, and because I wanted them, because in a different way, I love those 3 cards so much.
So one of the other things that we talk about, you and I, offline, so to speak,
Mhm.
is patience, and it's something that I am lacking in, and it's something that
Yeah.
you indicate with the way that you've collected. And these 3 cards, to me, not only did they scream out like great eye,
Mhm.
um, but because the centering and just the registration and really pretty much everything on this, but it
Mhm.
also it screams to me patience, because I know how long you spent eyeing that Ernie Banks card, and then
Yeah.
finally landing it in great fashion at the National.
Yeah. I mean, there's a card that I haven't gotten in my hands yet, but I bought an auction closed last weekend, and I it was probably my number one target for since Strongsville, and I couldn't find one that I liked. It wasn't the price; it was I wanted one that looked a certain way, and one popped up the other day, and I said, I'm gonna go hard for this thing. And I got it, and it was funny because my bid was like $2.50 higher than what it closed at. So there was like no margin.
Ooh,
But for my budget and for this card, uh it was a pretty big card, but I waited a long time. But when I found the right one, I'm like, okay, now's the time. I
yeah.
gotta pounce. Yeah.
Well, this is, there's been a good discussion in a multiple different forums lately about this concept that eye appeal is king versus the number.
Yeah.
So not all fives are created equal. Not all ones are created equal, certainly. But like the people who have the pay, I am now a subscriber to this, have the patience to be able to go after the higher eye appeal version of a five, let's say, and
Hmm.
also, pay up for it. Sometimes you have to
Yeah.
pay up for it a little bit.
Yeah. And if you can get the high eye appeal one at the high end or middle of the range that that grade goes for, then it's really a steal,
Yeah,
because you're really buying, like, to me, that's the nicest looking Banks 5 I've ever seen.
yeah,
Like, that card looks, if that card had a 7 on it, I wouldn't blink twice.
yeah,
And so I got an exceptional deal from that, because Ash had that, and Ash and I are friends, and he basically sold it to me at his cost. And but that card to me is worth more than every other 5 out there, and I would pay more than every other 5 out there. I just happened to pay about 4 price for it because my friend wanted to give me a deal.
yeah,
Um, the so yeah, I mean, the card that I'll share soon, I have to have it in my hands first, but that I was just referring to, the range on that card is about 750 to $870. And I bought it right in the middle of that range. And from the pictures, it certainly seems to be at least the grade that it is, if not higher. So if it looks as good in real life, the fact that I got it at kind of like average range, and the only reason I really went for it, because I would have thought it would have gone way higher, is because I'm like, it's right around the holidays. A lot of people don't spend this time. They don't
mm,
spend in December, and they don't spend right before the National. So those are the 2 times of the year you can really get a deal with some of these online auctions, because less people are spending. And
yep,
so I was like, I'm going to go for it. I really believe that that card would have sold for $150 more if it was 3 months ago or
yeah.
in 3 months.
It's funny because the Love of the Game auction that ended like 3 days before the National was one of the auctions that I spent the most in because I got
Yeah.
such great deals.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just briefly, where'd you get the Brooks and the Yogi?
So the Brooks I got, so I did a whole video. I was looking for a Roger Peckinpah card
Hmm.
because I am a Yankee captain collector.
We'll
And
we'll
so
see
one
that.
popped up. one popped up on an eBay auction, which I check my eBay saved searches about 10 times a day. And I was in my passing period between classes, and a Roger Peckinpah showed up. And the Roger Peckinpah that showed up, I think it was a 1.5, but it was a Tharps. And Tharps are these ice cream cards, as you know,
Yep.
that are some of the rarer. They're rarer than the Yinglings, and so I was like, this seems like a good deal because they were asking like $120 for it. Well, I texted a friend, our buddy who lives in the Pacific Northwest, who you're friends with as well. And I said, this has ice cream on it, though. He goes, that's normal. Buy it. Well, then I looked on the pop report, and the pop report was 1. It was the only one ever graded by PSA. So I bought it for $120, and then I did a video on it. And when I did the video on it, the next day I got an email, and it was a viewer who said, I'm trying to build the Tharp set in all PSA, and you have the only one. Will you sell it to me? And I was like, I think the right thing to do is to say yes and to not take advantage of my power situation here. But I want the card, so I have to get something. So we kind of went back and forth for a couple of months, and eventually the deal was, I said, if you buy that Brooks Robinson, I will trade it to you for that Brooks Robinson. I sent him a link and stuff, so we traded.
Okay.
So that's where that Brooks Robinson came from. Believe it or not, the 48 Bowman Yogi Berra was a gift, and it was a gift. It was a gift, not from a family member. It was a gift from the person has asked me not to. It's not someone you know, but it's somebody in the card community who I would say that I'm close with, and wanted to do something really nice for me, and so I got a text message that said I sent you something, and a few days later that showed up.
Well, I mean, that does speak to what we were talking about before, the whole midlife community.
It's amazing
Becoming
the
a special
gifts
place,
in the whole card community. It's not just Midlife Nation. It's everybody. I mean, I've been watching all these, Bradley Claus videos and stuff. I mean, people are they're just so nice to each other,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
but yeah, so those are 3 very special cards. Those are at the top most meaningful cards in my collection. Yeah.
Well, I obviously I see it. Makes perfect sense to me. I mean, I have the Yogi. It's not as well centered. It was an impatient buy. I bought it from Bill Chappell at the Atlantic City National, 2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 4, but it's a generous 4. But I mean, it's one of those cards that I don't mind it. It doesn't have it's not a card that I feel like I need to upgrade, but it doesn't have the special story. As you know, I got the Banks, which I do have a good story on, at the National. Mine's a BVG 4, so it's not nearly as nice as this, but I got it from Don. And Don was selling cards, and so I had a nice chat with Don there, and I feel like I'm keeping the card in my collection. I'm keeping it in the BVG, and it's in the front of my display because I feel like it's an important card for me relationship wise, and it's a national card and everything else. So
Yeah.
I do not have the Brooks Robinson card, but it's certainly one of those ones I'd like to get eventually. So I got these 3 cards do have some stories to them, but good and bad. The good thing about the Yogi Berra, I'm sorry, not the Yogi Berra. That's Whitey Ford. Good thing about the Whitey Ford is it's a rookie card. It's a 51 Burke Ross rookie card. It's a 4.5, which is a pretty good grade for Burke Ross cards. And I bought it from a friend, private sale. It's nicely centered. It's got a little bit of problem in the upper right corner, which is why the grade is 4.5 instead of 7. But it's an alternative rookie, and it cost me way less than his 51 Bowman would have cost me. But it was I think the reason why I ended up building the entire Burke Ross set.
Okay.
At that point, I had gotten all of the most expensive cards, and I had maybe 30 cards left, and I was like, all right, well, let's do it. So it was it was the enabler of me getting the Burt Ross set. So
Sure. The
uh,
trigger.
far right is Spawn, which, as you know, I collect Spawn, and that, I think that's a healthy thing, and I collect it, and it's a good thing for me in terms of the hobby, because Matt from the Card Story is also a Spawn collector. Yes, yep. Um, and we'll see your beautiful copy, which has a story later on, of the Leaf card. But I bought this raw from Twitter. A friend on Twitter. In fact, I think it might even be the friend. I think it's the friend who also got me the Lou Gehrig card from Ash in Houston, and then mailed it to me. So that, I mean, and I got it raw, and I sent it in, and it got a 4.5, and it's it fits. See, this is one of those cornerstone cards that fits. It's in my 48 build. My 48 set we'll see later on, which is not a build, it's completed. It's also my 48 Brave set. It's also my Spawn PC. So it's a card that fits three aspects. The card in the middle is one of those things that I've wanted this card for a very long time. And I put in a bid, not expecting to win, and I won.
That wasn't that long ago, right?
No,
Yeah, I
no,
was gonna say, because I remember you doing a video on that.
it was August,
Yeah.
and I was away. I was in Newport, and I put a bid. It was on Golden. I put a bid up for a really good number, and it won. But the reason it won, and this is the whole patience thing, is it has a. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can show it. Here it is. See if I can show it closer. Do you see in the middle of his face the line?
Sure.
Yeah, that's. I don't think it's one of those things that I can't unsee. I think it's just one of those things that one of those things that I accept.
Well,
It's a one.
and there's certain things where, there's a sliding scale with everything. And a
Yeah,
card like that is a really expensive card. So you're like, do if I want to have this card at all, like if I want it to be a pretty solid copy like that Whitey Ford, it's going to cost you a fortune. So if you're like,
yeah,
well, I want to have it, but I don't want to spend a fortune on it, then there's a give and take.
yeah.
And so sometimes you just go, this checks the box, and that's what I need to have happen.
And those are wise words, because I feel like I do that a lot with cards. I've got a lot of ones and twos of cards that like the Gehrig and some of the other stuff that I wanted the card. I have a Ty Cobb T206 Ty Cobb. It's filled with creases, but it's a T206 Ty Cobb in my
Yeah.
collection.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know it's real. It hasn't been trimmed.
That's an example of a card where I might end up with a pretty beat up one myself, just because I want to have it. But in order to get like a 3, I'd ra- I'm not going to spend. I don't see myself spending that much money. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
So
So the thing about the mantle, though, is that I have a mantle run. It's all the way up there. I don't have the 51 rookie. I don't have the 52 tops. But I don't have the 53 tops. But I am going to get that. That's one that I can get. That's like one of those target cards. But other than this, I have all of his. Other than those, this gives me pretty much his entire player run, which is nice. And it's also like I said before, the Yankees.
yeah,
Golden era and vintage Yankees. Love this. I
these
mean,
are yeah.
this is pretty
These
much,
so I got the 51 Bowman. That was a card I love Ted Williams, and I love the 51 Bowman set. I love the 50 Bowman set as well. And that card popped up for sale at an insanely low price with a best offer. And I made an offer, and 5 minutes later, I was like, it's going to sell for full price. So I just paid the full price.
yeah,
And I don't remember exactly what I paid, but it was $200 under what it should have been.
Yeah.
And so I pounced. I just think that it's a beautiful four and a
Yeah.
half. The Jackie, that's my favorite Jackie card. I want more Jackie cards in 2025. I hope to pick up at least one or two more Jackie cards, but that's my favorite one. And so I wanted that one, and I watched and watched and watched until the right one came up. And I probably paid a little over comp for that card, but it's so well centered. The image is so clean. It was worth it to me.
Oh yeah,
And then,
it's
yeah,
underground. I mean, that to me, that's I don't know how they could. Well, it's a it's a high number registration number, so it's a recent.
yeah,
It's probably graded in the last 2 years. Um,
yeah.
I have
Uh,
that card in a 1.5 that I got at the Atlantic City National, and it's another one of those that I feel like I need to upgrade this. I almost sold it this weekend, actually.
mm. I love the 55 top set. And then the 60 Yastrzemski, that card historically has all those black print dots
Yep.
all over the place on it.
Yep.
And that one's really well centered. And the Yastrzemski is a card where that's a really affordable card. Like, I want to say I paid like $150 for that card,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
and it's for a really well centered Yastrzemski rookie. But it's like there are just certain cards that stick out from my childhood as seeing them and going like, that's a Carl Yastrzemski rookie card. I just want to have it. And so sometimes when one pops up, I just go, yeah, this needs to be in my collection. So
Well, I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit about the Yastrzemski since I've been beating myself up a little bit. I am aware that that card has black splotches and all kinds of stuff in mid grade cards,
yeah,
and I don't want it. I didn't want it, so I actually followed the Greg, you know, path here. I've been wanting
patience.
that card for a couple of years, and I
Uh-huh.
finally found one that was. It's a 5, and it doesn't have any of the splotches or any of the smears or anything. And I paid, like you said, paid like one something for it, like
Yeah,
175 or something,
yeah.
and I underpaid because I think the person was just trying to move stuff, and it was a Twitter thing, and so it was great because it gave me the opportunity to do my Yastrzemski live stream with guys that you're friends with in the hobby too. Mike Junkwax Hero was live
Yeah,
on my channel. I
yeah,
know he's a good friend of both of ours, and so
yeah.
I'm really happy with that. And I feel like that was one of those things that's I'm maturing in my collecting
There's
strategy.
certain there's certain sets that I have noticed for whatever reason have recently gone um g- gone unnoticed, and the 60 set for some reason has become more affordable recently. A Willie McCovey rookie card is a very affordable card. I mean, the cost of a Willie McCovey rookie card right now is the same as what the cost of that same card was 20 years ago.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
a Big Mac is $7 now, and it used to be $1.50. So it's like it's amazing to me that Yastrzemski and McCovey are so affordable. And I don't really get it. The only thing I can think is that it's set from the '60s instead of the '50s. But
yeah.
I
The
don't
other
get it.
thing I think about, I mean, this is a whole different. It's a whole video on this. A couple of things. One is the mid-level Hall of Famers. I mean, McCovey is not mid-level. He's a 500 home run guy, but he
Yeah,
doesn't get the love in the hobby. Yastrzemski is more of a New England hobby centric guy.
yeah, but
And
he had
also,
a lot of hits. He had a lot of RBIs. He had a lot of home runs. I mean,
oh, I
he's
mean,
really,
yeah,
really good.
he's a top tier Hall of Famer in my book.
Yeah,
But
yeah, me too.
it's one of those things. I think that sort of explains it. But the 60 set, beautiful photography, bad quality assurance by Tops. There's a lot of things like the black smears and the print errors and registration issues. And I think people don't like the cards that are, vertical or horizontal. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
horizontal.
I do like that. I do
Yeah,
like those sets.
yeah. Well, I have the
You know,
whole
my
50 set.
you know,
I
my
got the whole,
dad at one point had a 1960 Topps Mickey Mantle in a 9.
oh,
He had it in a 9.
oh
And I'm
man.
pretty sure he had a McCovey in a 9 as well.
That
Yeah.
mantle in a 9? Oh, Jesus, I don't even wanna know.
You
What do
don't
we got now?
someday when we talk again, I'll tell you the whole story
Yeah,
of
yeah.
going through the grading process on that. So, all right, so we got a few of your cool cards here.
Yeah, so these are, the Joss is one of those ones where I feel like I also made a really good collecting decision. If you get an Addy Joss in a 3 in a T206, you pay twice what I paid for this Sporting Life.
Yeah.
So I got a pitcher in that era. I love the pictures, and you'll see this a little bit later. I got a card that I don't have any other Sporting Life cards, and I made a good decision. And it's a great looking card. I mean, quality
Yeah.
wise, terrific.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the port's the same exact photo as the T206.
Yeah.
Um, the one on the far right is an example of a guy who I sort of collect, but you know, when I get the cards, I'm not like crazy about getting every Bill Terry card, like when they become available. But this particular card to me is one of my favorite cards in my entire hobby because of the art. I just think it's a
Yeah.
fantastic piece of art.
I think the Diamond Star set is ready to explode because I think a lot of people like the idea of collecting a set that's not Tops or Bowman. It makes them feel like they're a little bit off the radar. That set is gorgeous and it's still really, really affordable for whatever reason. And it's got some really big names in it, like
Yeah.
really big names in it.
Yep.
I think that set is a place that's going to see a lot of upside in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and I have I think it's the R311. It's like a photograph essentially on heavy cardstock of this photo. The original photo is actually
Mm,
taken in Braves Field, so the background is different in this artistic rendition. But I think the artistic rendition actually looks better than the photograph. You know,
mhm.
with the colors and the way they set up with the buildings behind them and this red scoreboard. It's just a fantastic one. And of course, the card in the middle. John 3D Ages kid said it's one of the ugliest cards in the hobby. So
Yeah, I like
I
John, but John's wrong. It's a really cool card.
John- John's a good friend. We spent a lot of
Yeah,
time together at the National in the house, but yeah, you're 100% wrong. This is
yeah,
probably my number one card in the hobby, and I ended
yeah,
up doing. Um, I got this the only time I ever won an auction on Heritage Auctions. Bought it about 3 years ago. I paid a pretty good price for it, but it's a 6, and it's just fantastic. A tiny little bit off center, don't care. It's a
yeah,
6, and it's a cornerstone card. It's part of my 53 Bowman set. It's part of my Dodgers set. It's part of my art set, and it's just it's I think a card you need to own
yeah,
in the hobby. So I feel like that's one of my collecting. And you know what I did? I checked the price recently. This card keeps going up.
yeah. It does.
This card in a 6 is worth, I'd say, 50% more than what I paid for it at this
Yeah,
point.
it's a
So
pretty big card.
I'm never selling it, but if I did, when my family sells it, they're going to make a little bit of capital gains on that. So shout out to our friend Jason for the Ed Walsh here.
Yeah, I
Uh,
know. I love the Cracker Jack set, and for years I was just like, I just want to have a couple of cards from that set. Never
mhm.
did I think I'd get a Hall of Famer, and Ed Walsh is, I mean, he's one of those guys where he's not a top tier guy, but he's not a bottom tier guy. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, that guy had 40 win season, like 30, several 30. I mean, this guy, he was very, very good. And the thing about that card when I saw that go up for sale is that that particular person had about uh 4 hit the market. And look at how sharp those corners are.
Hmm.
And look at how deep that red is on that card. The only I mean there it's obviously off center. And if you look about at his right bicep, there's a little bit it's between like his shoulder and his bicep, there's a kind of a curved line that there is I don't know if I'd call it a crease or those cards are so thin.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was a stunning example for a 3
Yeah.
of a really important pitcher at the time of a really important set. So, uh, yeah. The Chrissy Mathewson Dark Cap, that's the first T206 card I ever bought.
No, it's a good way to
And
start.
yeah, and I think that the fact that it's just a 2, I think that's one of the nicer 2s I'll ever see. There
Yeah.
is not a crease in it. There's a little scratch on the card, which might appear to maybe be a crease, but there are no creases or wrinkles. I think it's a really good example. And then the Walter Johnson, that was my big pickup at
Yes.
the National.
I have
So
that card in my hands.
yeah, it's centered well. I think the corners are great. It's got a little bit of toning, and I in my like when I do my countdown video, which I guess I'm gonna do, I'm pretty sure that's gonna end up being my number one card. I don't know what VCP would say, but I don't really care what VCP would say. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure that's my best card in my collection.
Well, we'll see these two again when I show my pictures, but your examples are nicer. They're higher graded also. I really love the color on that Mathewson.
Yeah.
I think really the green and the blue are really jump out compared to other versions I've seen of that. And the I that's my favorite. I think the Johnson, was he have 3 cards in this set?
He has 2. He has the hands at
Two. Okay.
chest, and then he has a portrait, which has
Yeah, I
got the
don't like
yellow
the portrait.
background.
I don't like the color of the portrait. It's
Yeah.
like it's like mustard yellow or something. But
Yeah. Yeah. I still want it, but this is my favorite of the 2.
yeah, same here. Oh, what was the next one? So I do have the dark cap. It's a one MK. It's okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have the dark
That's a
cap.
white cap.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about that white cap. Sorry. It's it's got a stamp. The MK is a stamp on the back, which I don't care.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
I don't mind stamps at all.
the Cy Young is probably another cornerstone card. Um, the Mordecai, I love that card. It's got some issues, but I don't care. The color is great. Picture is
Mhm.
great. It's just a terrific card. Um, as you can see, my Johnson has a crease right near the bill of his cap, and it's got some other smaller creases. But I like it, and I got it way less than you would expect. I bought it
Mhm.
raw and sent it to SGC. I think
Hmm.
I spent like $700 on it. So
Yeah.
get a
For
Johnson.
Walter Johnson.
For
Yeah.
Johnson. Um, I did the same with the Waddell.
Hmm.
I spent, I don't know what it was, but it was ridiculously low amount of money, and then sent it in and it got the one which it deserves. But I mean, if you look at it from here, it's just the corners.
Yeah.
I and then so this is, I didn't pay up for any of these guys. Um, the I know Brown is really worth quite a bit more money than I paid for it now. They all have issues. What do we got? A two low grades with qualifiers and 2 1s, but considering the amount of money spent, I think this is actually a good part of my collection. And
Hmm.
you would be proud of me with this. At the time I was collecting these, I was going to build the monster,
Yeah.
and then
That's
I
an undertaking.
I demonsterized myself. I got rid of a lot of then I hate the word commons because every card is an individual who has a story. But
Yeah.
I got rid of some of the lesser known players, kept some of the cards that meant something to me, kept the Giants, and then I kept, of course, all the Hall of Famers, including these 5 pitchers. So I feel like T206 wise, my collection is pretty much complete.
Yeah.
If for what I want it to be, and so
Yeah.
that I think you should be proud of me for that. So
Yeah, I am. So
I
this
love
is
it.
a card I got
Yeah.
at Strongsville.
Yep.
And I went with about 10 cards on my list, and this was one of them. And the same dealer had he had a 3, a 3.5, and a 4.5. And without question, this was the best one. It had the best
Really?
color. Yeah, it had the best color. The corners are obviously rounded, but they're
Yep.
symmetrical,
Yep.
so it looks fine. The yellow pops. There's that little dot between the runner and Hornsby leaning over there,
Yeah.
and that red dot. But that's part of the print. That's on the whole run. That's
Yeah.
not this particular card. Um, and At the very top, right above the B on the border, there's a little indentation, and then below his left foot, there's a little bump there as well. And those are rubber band marks, which to me adds a lot of character to the card as well. So I absolutely have my forever copy of this card. I'm not a huge fan of his other card in the set, the one where he's in the dugout. He's looks like he's a
Yeah.
manager.
Yep.
This is the card I wanted of Rogers Hornsby, and I am absolutely thrilled to have it.
Yeah, I tried to buy this over the years, and I just kept losing auctions on it. And then I ended up buying another Hornsby card. So I mean, I see this as one of the cards that like you cornerstone kind of card.
Yeah,
Also with the rounded corners, I mean, it's a 91-year-old card. I mean, it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
rounded corners are good.
yeah.
So,
I don't. To a certain extent, sometimes when I see a super high grade like 33 Gaudi, I'm like, this doesn't look real. Like this is like the perfect amount of aging. And
yeah,
it's not perfectly centered, but it's centered well enough that it's not distracting. And
no, not
so
at
and
all.
then the yellow border also I think makes the centering less important.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, I mean I was on my shoulder. I had my friend David was standing there, and on my other
Hmm.
shoulder, Darren was standing with me. And I looked at all three with them. I said, "This is the best one, isn't it?" And they were both like 100% yes.
Well, I mean, I watched Darren's last two videos when he goes through his 100 top cards, and I'm what strikes me about Darren's collection is that he has the same kind of philosophy that I feel like you have, where
Yeah,
he picks out iconic cards, and then iconic cards with certain grades, or not necessarily even the grades. It's more about the eye appeal, and so he's got a collection that's really so well curated,
yeah,
and it helps me to realize that like that's where I should be concentrating more. So I feel like this card is a good example. So you got two different people, um, both of whom, by the way, terrific guys. I know
yeah,
David, as you know, I know David
yeah,
from interacting with him, and you introduced me to him, and he's a wonderful man. But having two people like that helping you out and making a
yeah,
decision, a conscious decision that's more focused on what's more important about the card, not the
yeah,
number, not the price, but like the
yeah.
quality of the card. So I
Well,
really
well,
like
and it's
that.
fun. It's funny because
Yeah.
I bought this from Tim Payne,
Hmm.
and the next day I came back and I was looking at two 1950 Bowman Sammy Baugh cards, and I had one in my hand and I was about to buy it, and then I looked at the other one in his case, and I said, I guess the registration is bad on the one I'm about to buy because that one in the case looks so much better. It looks like crisp. It looks crisp. And I pulled it out and I had Orlando on my shoulder. And then
Uh-huh.
our friend Dan, or Don, I'm sorry, Don, who's a big football collector on the other shoulder. And I go, this one's better, isn't it? Even though it's lower grade. And they were like, 100%. That one is so crystal clear. And this one's a little bit fuzzy. And I did the same thing. I bought the lower graded one because I felt like it was better.
So it's not part of the theme of the show, but the one of my problems with card shows is that I tend to lone wolf, and I should do less lone wolfing because what
You
looks like
really should. Yeah, you
yeah.
should.
And I'm not the only one who's like that. A lot of our friends have talked about lone wolfing at shows, but I feel like I should do less of it. I'm going to show you that I do have this card. Whoops, I've had it on the channel multiple times because it means a lot to me.
Yeah.
It's really kind of my gateway card getting back into the hobby in like 2018, 2019. And
Well, Carl Hubble is a
yeah,
guy who is so underappreciated. I mean, I don't really get that either. Um, and this to me is an awesome card,
yeah,
and and it's a weird card because his face, it's sort of like the 58 Jim Brown rookie card, where they're just kind of all blurry on their faces on this card, and it's just kind of the way that it is. Uh, I got an insane deal on this card. and it
Yeah,
was it
it's
was
gone up. When did you buy it?
a couple years ago,
Yeah,
and it's just like, I mean, it's pretty well centered. It's I don't know. Again, it's symmetrical. It's very similar to the 33 Gaudy Hornsby you just showed,
yeah,
where sure it's not perfect, but it is absolutely everything I could want in that card. And when you're talking about a 33 card, a 3 is a pretty solid grade.
absolutely.
And so I love it.
Yeah, I just this card to me is it's one of my favorite cards in the hobby. I think I've now
Hmm.
talked about that 3 times. It's the art, it's the player,
Hmm.
it's the era, and mine is sort of really, really nicely creased up. it's well loved, as they say.
Yeah.
But what's funny about this is I actually owned this card ungraded, and it smelled a little bit like fire. And I always wondered to
Really?
myself, like it had this sort of smoky smell to it. We're all card smellers, so
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's an important thing. I mean, I've done that. I think it's a way for you to understand whether something is actually authentic.
Yeah. a
Um,
hundred percent.
and so I have always thought to myself, what's the backstory with this card smelling like smoke? And did it survive a fire?
Yeah.
Was it one of those cards that like it's the fact that it survived 91 years might actually be a miracle. And so
The
it's one of those cards that's really important to me for many reasons. And of course, Carl Hubble is now somebody that I collect, and I have did a Hubble show, and I have a bunch of stuff. But it's one of those things where it's a bit of a gateway that, like, getting this card probably spurred me on to collect as many Hubble cards as I can, which is not a bad thing. But when you want to be more of a narrow collector and less of a broad collector, maybe just stick with this one. you know?
eh. Or you could just do more Hubble cards and less of other guy cards.
True, true.
Back to your spelling the cards thing. The absolute easiest way to tell if an old card is real is by smelling it.
Yeah,
It is the easiest method. If it smells like an old book that was in the public library for 100 years, it's most likely real because that's kind of hard to fake.
yep. And the smell too, because
Yeah.
I've been collecting vintage cards for I've told my story in the hobby many, many times, but I was collecting vintage cards in the late '70s as a high schooler, and
Hmm.
so I remember, and there was no grading back then, so every card, you touched it, you felt it, you smelled it, and
Hmm.
I know that smell. I know the authentic smell.
Hmm.
Never had a card that smelled like smoke before, so that was a little bit interesting. So 3 of these cards, I'll go through these quickly, but um, Carl Erskine is a Dodger. So he's a guy that I collect, generally speaking, as a Dodger, Golden Era. This is the Red Heart card that kind of started me to collect the set because I saw the beauty with that red being overpowering, and it's a little bit off center, but it's really, really sharp, which is why I got that grade. I bought it raw for a very small price, graded it, got the 6, and now I've tripled my money on it. But of course, I'm never selling this card. But my family, when they sell my collection, will gain the benefit of that. But the point is, it fits a lot of parts of my collection. But like I think it's the gateway for the red heart. The card in the middle, I feel, is it's Johnny Mize. It's one of my Johnny Mize, very large collection of Johnny Mize these days, and it's also was my first Propagandist Montiel, a card which I feel like I didn't know anything about, like years ago, and now in the last couple of years I kind of know about it. And shout out to our friend Orlando for helping me understand some of the you know um, Spanish issues. Card on the
So that
right,
would that would be like a rookie card for Johnny Mize, right?
yeah, it's 46, 47. Johnny Mize has a bunch of like pre rookie cards, so to speak.
Well, his 48, 49 Leaf is kind of considered his mainstream rookie card, and
Yeah,
this is before that.
but he's got that card. He's got a card, and I forget what it's the the colorized 36 cards. I think it's, I don't know what the number is, like
Mm,
3 something. And he's got one of those. He's also got this. Let me bend over. 47 tip top red,
okay.
pre 48. But they're not widely distributed issues, so they're not considered rookie cards.
Well, the country was a little preoccupied in the early 40s.
Yeah, yeah. He's also got a double play card in 41.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
which is interesting. He's got 2 actually. He's got one with Slaughter. He's got one with another player who I can't remember, and I own the card. And then he sued them,
Hmm.
the double play people, which will be the subject of my next video next weekend.
Oh, well, there you
Yeah.
go.
Lawsuits in the hobby. And I will not say who my guest is, but if you know who the hobby lawyer is, you know who it is.
Well, I think I might know.
So the one on the far right is a card which to me is just so special because Doug, literally at the National, we were just sitting and chatting for like an hour. Doug from Joe Wood card
Hmm.
collector, and then he literally took me, not necessarily by the hand, but it could have been by the hand, to 3 different places to try to find a Joe Wood card that I could buy, and we found this one, which is a Boston one, which was the important thing for me. I didn't want a Cleveland Joe Wood because Joe Wood is known more as a pitcher for Boston. And I bought this card ungraded, uh, at a really nice price compared to the fact that I got it too. So it's special for many reasons. It's one of my few cards in this the American Caramel set. Um, it's also my only Joe Wood card. It's important because it was a friend who helped me get the card, and then we did a show together, which was nice. So
Yeah,
uh, kind of one of
he's a
those,
great guy.
yeah, wonderful man, and I look forward to seeing him again. Hopefully at Strongsville. So I guess generally the next few slides are going to be your Yankee captains,
Yeah,
which I feel like your Yankee captain set kind of hits a lot of other things that you could do in the like, as I talked about how like one card could fit like 4 different parts of my collection. You've kind of done that here because you got the M1015.
yeah.
Uh,
So obviously Stengel's not a captain, but he's a important manager.
of course,
Of the Yankees, and that's one of his first cards. I mean, he technically has, I think, one earlier card, but it's a minor league card. I mean, it's generally referred to as his rookie card. And then the Miller Huggins. I mean, Miller Huggins is the first person ever honored in Monument Park. Was the manager? I mean, tiny little guy. Was the manager, for Ruth and Gehrig, and the Yankees were just amazing then. And both guys obviously Hall of Famers. And then the first Yankee captain is Clark Griffith, who's an important
yeah,
person in baseball history, first player, manager, owner. He did a lot of stuff, and again, it's another check the box because it's a T206 Hall of Famer on top of that.
yep,
So all 3 of these cards are super special. I have a special affinity for Yankee captains. I'm named Greg, like Greg Nettles. My
right.
niece's name is Mattingly, after a Yankee captain. So it's a little bit of a special thing for me.
Well, yeah, I mean that's another thing, and I think this is part of. I think this can be part of narrow and broad collecting is finding a niche that means something to you personally, and that's my 48 Braves thing, and I've explained this many times, but I'm not going to get into it here. But it's something that means it's important to me personally because of my family, and
Yeah,
so that to me makes it something that whether you collect it, however you collect it, if you collect it and it's important to you for that reason, then that's a good thing.
yeah.
um, whether it's broad or so you whether it's broad or narrow, it's fine. But you've also got some more of these.
Yeah, so
Oh,
Kid Elberfeld is the second Yankee captain.
uh-huh.
And then and he's actually got, because he was traded right between like 1910 and 11 or something. So some of them, I think he's got a Washington on his chest.
Right.
I obviously wanted the New York one. Uh, Willie Keeler, one of my all-time favorite guys, and I love that card. Obviously, the T206 card of me that you made was came from that card.
I didn't make it, but I did show it.
Yeah, that's what I meant. And then Hal Chase, obviously the guy's got a lot of history and story around him, but I mean, look at the colors, the
Yep.
matching New York on the chest. I mean, those
Yeah.
three are just awesome. Those are awesome
So
cards.
Silver Jackify channel,
Yeah,
YouTube sports card collecting Hall of Fame member, did also his 50 or top 100 and two, 100 to 51 and then 50 to 1. And one of the cards that he showed, I don't even know what number it was. It was like a high number, and like 78 in his collection, because his collection is also awesome. Um, it was the Keeler card. And
yeah.
I was like, oh, wow. I've known of this card. I've seen it before, but I was never quite taken by it as much as when I saw it on this video. And I said to myself, wow, Greg's got one too.
It's a beautiful card. Like it's one of my favorite cards in the hobby. Mine's got, the PWCC stickers or whatever on it.
Yeah,
I throw all that paperwork away. I probably shouldn't, but it's just I just think that it's just that's
yeah,
such a cool card.
yeah.
And
And
I almost bought one that had a back stamp, which I actually like back stamps on the cards. And I
yeah,
didn't get it. And I was really bummed out. And then about 2 months later, this one popped up. And I'm like, I like this one better. It's just well centered. It's symmetrical. It's just an awesome card. It's an awesome card.
absolutely.
And his
Now,
other card is cool. I was with at breakfast with a friend at the National, and we were talking about how we both like the T206 Willie Keeler cards. And he goes, "Yeah, the thing I like about the action one is he's got his glove folded up in his back pocket." And I was like, "You know what? He does. I never really thought about it until he said it." But he's got his glove. He's got a bat. He's left-handed. He got his bat, but he's got his glove in his back pocket sticking out. And I'm like, that is such a time capsule.
uh, any reason why you went all portrait on these guys?
I
Because
like the portraits the best.
Chase has 4 cards in the set, which
Yeah.
I always found interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
I thought about the pink one. I'll get the pink one at some point. Uh, I like the portraits for me personally. There are a few examples like the Walter Johnson, but generally speaking, I like the portrait cards of these guys better. Um, I thought the blue looks great, especially when you're doing the run and you got the orange, which is the Griffith, and then the red, and then the green, and then the blue, and then you're about to see the next one is also a T206, and it's the Chance with like the yellowish orange.
yep.
I just think I love the T206 portraits, and again, it's just because as a kid I saw them, and it was like the formal picture that you take at the school year. It's just like your school year mugshot that goes in the yearbook, and these guys have the formal. It's like when you see a military guy and he's got his fatigues, and then he's got the picture where he's in the formal.
Yeah.
It's like it just resonated with me. And
So
then I've got yeah, go
you
ahead.
did get a couple of pecking paws. So after you did,
I have several peck and paws.
right.
I plan on getting more of all of these guys,
Yeah.
but it's just when they fall in my lap. That peck and paw fell in my lap. I paid $100 for that at the National. I saw it at the end of the first night. He had like 130 bucks on it. I went back the next, and I all night long. I was like, I'm going straight to that guy's table. If it's still there, I'm buying it. I was like, could you do any better? He goes, I could do 100. And I go, sold. And I was thrilled to buy that card. The card on the right, it was a gift. It was the first Peck and Paw card I ever got. Actually, it was after the Tharps. So I had the Tharps at the time, but I hadn't made the trade yet. And then that card was gifted to me, and it more freed me up to do that trade of the Tharps Peck and Paw for the Brooks Robinson rookie that we talked about earlier. And then I think the next page probably has one more Peck and Paw on it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Um,
The one in the middle is a 5, which is really great.
yeah,
Great.
Yeah, I
100 years.
love the M101 set. I mean, I
Yeah.
just think it's just fantastic.
Yeah, I have a bunch of them in my, my 1914 Braves collection. I've got about 10 of these of
Hmm.
various backs, various players. All right, so I don't know. Do we have another peck and paw?
No,
No.
I maybe didn't send the next
Yeah,
one. I have it right here. I I have this one as well, which I got not that long ago. It's a York caramel.
nice.
Yeah, it's just a 1.5, but it's a cool card. Same image as the other caramel that was the second one that we saw. And then one of the things that's interesting is because they didn't keep records quite like they did in the past, but um, Raleigh Zeider is, depending on what list you look on, was or wasn't a Yankee captain. Um, some people say it's Everett Scott was the captain. Some say Raleigh Zeider. Some don't have either. But when they named Aaron Judge captain a couple years ago, uh, the Yes Network did a whole thing on how which captain he was and the whole list of them, and they listed Raleigh Zeider as the one. So I'm going with what they said. Um,
It is
and
officially
then
owned by the Yankees, so
yeah,
yes. Now,
yeah. So I'm guessing it's probably right. Plus, it's a Federals. He's in the
yep,
Federals uniform there, and it's just a cool card to have. Any Cracker Jack is cool. So I actually bought that off of Stan. He had it on eBay. I emailed him directly, and I said, "What would you do if we bought it off eBay?" And he gave me a better deal.
nice.
Uh, and then I Munson. I've had a few different Munsons. I'm working on getting a better Munson to represent my captain run, so I didn't include that one. But
Hmm.
the only two co-captains were Ron Guidry and Willie Randolph, and
Yep.
so I have both of those in sevens.
Yeah,
Um,
I collected those cards as a youth.
yeah,
76. I
yeah.
was
I mean, it's a
I
cool
was plugged.
set, and those are super cheap cards. I also have the Guidry one signed. He signs for free through the mail,
Does
so
he
I
really?
bought one. Yeah, for free,
Oh
and he's
wow.
fast. It's like a week. I sent one to him. I don't know, a year ago with that I bought for like $6 off of eBay and came back signed. So I have that in a box over here.
So
Um,
one of the things that always struck me about this Kidry rookie card is the fact that he has no mustache.
yeah, that's true.
The mustache is sort of part of his look. He still
Yeah, it
has.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I love
cool.
that card because he was a lefty and a Yankee, and I was a lefty and a Yankee fan. So still am a lefty. So um, Mattingly rookie.
Yeah, that I picked up recently. I have his tops as well, but as a kid, that was the card. That '84 Donruss set was like one of the first big sets in the '80s, and I always wanted that card, never had it. So I finally bought that pretty recently. Really excited to have that in the collection. And then the Jeter, that's sort of the Jeter
Yeah,
Yankee rookie card. I mean, he has a couple of his like high school cards and prospect cards and stuff that are earlier, but to me, that's the Jeter card.
yeah.
Um,
That Topps rookie that I don't really like, where he's
yeah,
like
you can get the
weird.
gold one or whatever, but
This
uh,
one, an eight. As far as I know, this foil is hard to get a number that high.
very, very difficult to get an 8. Because what happens is the cards brick where they
Yep.
stick together, and so that foil is not super high quality, and so when you'd pull them apart, a lot of the surface would have damage. So an 8 is fairly expensive because though the card isn't crazy rare, it's hard to have it without a lot of surface damage. So that card in a 9 is like a at least a couple thousand. At least it
Yep.
was. In
Yep.
a 10, it's like crazy because there's only like 20 of them. But in an 8, it's not a cheap card. I mean, I don't know what they're going for, but I would guess that's probably a $450 card in an 8 right now.
And I see the wonderful label on the Aaron Judge. It's
Yeah, that was a gift to me from a one Mr. Dylan Double D at the National. He brought that for me. And the thing
well,
I love the most about it is that the centering grade was 100. from Dylan. So yeah, I had the first Bowman Chrome refractor of Judge, and I had it in a 10. And when he was doing the 62 chase a couple years ago, it
Hmm.
got so expensive. I'm like, I can't own this anymore.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
too expensive. So I sold the 10, and I'm just when there's a lull, like probably relatively soon, I'll buy a 9 or an 8 or something. I don't need one that's worth over $1,000. So
I think you should just keep the double D because that one
yeah,
got a
yeah,
lot
I
more.
could do. Well, I like again. I want to have multiple cards of all these guys, not just a card. So
Fair enough.
yeah, and
So
then my
this
Nettles. Yeah,
this is your Nettles signed. Did you buy this in the slab or did you send it in?
I have about 15 Nettles autographs, and um, this particular one was a gift from Darren, Return to Collecting.
Oh, okay.
Um, he he's just a nice guy, and he said, "Hey, I sent you something, man." And I was like, "Okay." And there, I got that, and that's got the loop. It's got the loop error, and I've got about 4 of that card. That's the only one I have signed. Um, I have a couple ungraded. I don't know if I have a graded one. I have, yeah, probably 4 of it. I actually bid on an 8.5 the other day, and I missed. I was the second highest bidder, but I don't care. I have years to get that card in an 8 or a 7 or just a nice one. So
So Greg Nettles signed at the 2022 Atlantic City National,
okay.
and he signed my 70 tops, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Hmm.
And I asked him, I said, I'm a big Greg Nettles should be in the Hall of Fame person. And he said to me, the reason he thinks he's not in the Hall of Fame is because he pissed off all the writers for so many years. He
You
poisoned the
know,
people.
there's unfortunately there is a lot of that. The guys that were not liked
Yeah.
because I mean, even like a Frank Robinson who at times would get a little cranky. Is that why his cards aren't more expensive? Because if you look at his statistics and his importance, they should be really expensive. So it's weird how that works, but I guess it is what it is.
So, as I said, I'm collecting the 1970. I have the complete 1970 top set. It was my first set that I collected as a kid, and it's the first set that I completed. And I was working on it for years. Off of those years that I even like during those years where I wasn't collecting, I still had it. But I completed it in 2018, and then I decided that I wanted to start getting them all signed. So I've been getting them signed, TTMs, lives, buying signed cards, and these are the 2 cornerstones that I got in the last year. Willie Mays was purchased by from Ash at the White
Mm,
Plains show, and Hank Aaron I won for a low price on the REA auction about 2 months ago.
mm,
And I don't know why. I don't know why it was so cheap. I guess because the auto was a 9, and maybe the lettering is a little thick. But the
mm.
maze is a 10. The maze is fantastic. So these are 2 cards that fit in. They're I collect both of these guys. They're both guys that you want cards from. They're both great cards. I love this set. I collect the set and I collect the autos. So I think this checks a lot of boxes for me. Um, So why do I have a picture that looks like a bunch of cards, a bunch of slabs in a slab box? Because they fit perfectly. Those are 48 cards, all
Mm.
SGC slabs. All 48 cards are from the 48 Bowman set, which I have laid out in 2 different pictures here. This is 1 through 24, and this is 25 through 48. So this is one of my proudest achievements in the hobby is getting this done. Some of these guys are hard to find and graded, so I actually have graded a lot of these myself through SGC. Some of the highlights are Ali Reynolds in a 6 and Tommy Heinrich in a 7. Of course, I have all the Hall of Famers in here. There are a lot of them. There's Kiner and Mize and Feller and Berra, all, and then Rizzuto, which are bought at the National. Card number 1 is Bob Elliott, who was the MVP in 1947, and he's a 48 Braves, which also includes Warren Spahn, who's in the bottom left from the corner right next to the Slaughter. So I feel like this is a set that I really kind of, got it right with. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't like it, but I think when you
Uh,
lay it out like this, it really gives you an appreciation of how beautiful these cards are and how they're very time specific, you know?
I love the set, and I'm not a set builder, although I guess I am building the set at the moment. But if I were to build the set, this is one that I would consider, largely because it's such a small set. Most of the cards in the set are pretty important cards. They're
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
important players and stuff. So
Yeah, you've got some no name guys, but you got all the Hall of Famers, but you also have guys like Bobby Thompson's rookie
yeah,
card, and
yeah,
you got Ali Reynolds, and you got
Ralph Kiner and
yeah,
yeah,
and there's some other guys in here that are historically important, I think. So that was a good one. So football. I don't collect football, so
yeah. I
that's not
know a lot of people don't collect football, and
no
I
broad.
love it because it's cheap because nobody collects it. Um, I collect about there's about I don't know 6 or 7 football players I collect. One is Autogram.
Yep.
I want to get his first. I have all the entire Autogram run except for his 51 Bowman. That's the only one I'm missing. I'm just being patient, waiting for the right one. The right one came up about 2 months ago, and it sold for about $100 more than it should have. So I just let them have it, and I'll continue to wait.
Yep.
Jim Brown, I will eventually get his whole run. I probably have about 5 or 6 of his cards. Um, yeah, you can go to the next one. We can go through these kind of quickly if you want.
Okay. That's Jim Brown's an iconic card, and I
Yeah.
probably should own it.
First 3
Yeah.
Bart Starr cards I want. That's his second card. The 58 Tops is his second card. His third card, the 59 Tops, is a great card too. In fact, it's right here. I can grab it. I don't think I sent you a picture of that one. But I am. Yeah, let me grab it and show you. This is the. It's also in a 5.5. So
Oh,
that is
that's
his.
59, right?
That's 59. It's his third
Yeah.
card. So the green one was his first card, and then that's his second card. The Johnny Unitas, that's Johnny Unitas' second card. I had a 7, but it was about 80-20 centering, and it drove me crazy. So I sold it, and I bought that 5 for about 40% the price, and it's a way better looking card. I have the 59. I think I have the 59 Johnny Unitas, his third card.
The card Unitas that I do want to get is the one where his head, it's like his head is tilted. It looks like he just got hit in the head. I think that might be the 60 or the 61.
Yeah, he has one where he's got kind of a weird look on his face.
Yeah, that's the one.
I have the full Gale Sayers run. I have every
Nice.
one of Gale Sayers' cards. I'm a huge Gale Sayers guy.
This Philadelphia is his rookie, right?
Yep, that's his rookie, 66 Philadelphia. Let's see. I just some of the guys, like again, Autogram, I want all of them. Sammy Baugh, I want all of them. But like Bart Starr and Johnny Unitas, they have like 18 cards. I don't need all those
Yeah.
slabs, so I'm just
Yeah,
gonna get
Unitas has got a
the
lot of
first,
cards.
second, third. Yeah, Sammy Baugh, that's his. So Sammy Baugh has a 48 Leaf, and he has a 48 Bowman, and then he has the 50 Bowman. That's the card I was talking about earlier, where I was standing with Orlando and Dawn when I picked that, and the other one didn't have good registration, and it was the wrinkles by his eyes that made me realize that this one has good registration, and the other one didn't. So it's a little off center, but it's a better looking card. And then the 51 Sammy Baugh is there on the right. I also have the 52, which I also bought in Strongsville, which is another card that I love. The 52 Bowman has the large and the small. So
Right.
this is the small one.
Yeah.
I'll probably eventually get the large as well because I want to do his whole run. just because his run and Otto Graham's run is like 7 or 8 years. It's not 20 like it is for Unitas and Bart Starr. So,
Yeah.
um,
Oh,
and then no, you're good. You're good.
okay.
Uh, I collect some basketball. I've got some Wilt Chamberlains. I've got some Kareems. Um, I I was a big Larry Bird guy, and that Larry Bird, the 81 tops,
Yeah.
I bought that raw when I was 11, and I had it in my collection forever. And then about, I don't know, 4 years ago or so, I was like, this seems like it could be a 10. I mean, there's a little white dot on there. That's on the case. That's not on the card. And I was like, I think this has a legit chance at a 9. Like, if it doesn't get at least a 9, something's wrong. And it came back an 8, of course.
I think
But
that's one of
I
those
don't know
cards
how.
that people suspect that there's pop control
Yeah.
on, because there's a
So
lot of
it's
them
it
out there,
it's
and there's
a
a lot of them.
beautiful card. Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
know somebody who sent in a card very much like this and also got an 8 and was a little bit disappointed. The card
yeah.
on the right, of course, is one of those ones that everybody wants to have in their collection, but I don't know. Tiny little pictures of three guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like the 81 better. You know.
I like the 81 better, but the 80 to me is maybe the second most important basketball card behind the
Yeah.
Jordan, 86 Fleer Jordan. And so it was the card I wanted as a kid that I could never afford. I remember as a kid, that card was $350.
Wow.
And it was way out of my price range. And so I bought one of the other Larry Bird rookies because he's on a few of the panels for like $30. And I was like, oh, I got a Larry Bird rookie still. It's just not the expensive one. Well, eventually I wanted to get the expensive one. So I did.
And it's a 7 too, which is, yeah,
Yeah.
it's expensive. Uh, just as an aside, Julius Irving is going to be at the Philadelphia show, the Philly show on Saturday,
Mm,
and signing. He signs. He's expensive to sign, period. But to sign this card, he charges $399.
yeah. I know. And they all charge a premium on to get this particular card signed. And Montana now charges like 1,000 to sign his rookie.
Yep.
So that's just where we're at.
So, we're stepping back into my collection for a little bit. We talked about the 55 doubleheaders a little bit. So at the National, I got the 55 Spawn doubleheader and a few others raw that I've since submitted and came back pretty good. I got that Aaron ungraded at Strongsville.
I remember that.
Yeah, and it came back 2, which actually ends up making me some money. I bought the Philly, the Jackie in Philly, and I just won the Ted in an REA auction. Or was it REA or no? It was Love of the Game actually. And so these are the 3 cornerstone cards in that set. So the question becomes: do I continue on? And I have about 12 now out of 66. Do I continue on to complete the set, or should I just stop now?
Well, again, you have so many sets that you're working on. My vote would be pick a set to complete and then maybe pick up one of the other ones later.
So the thing about this one is when you complete the set, you can put all the cards in order in a circle, and it's an entire stadium. Like the
Oh,
card
really?
after Aaron has a similar stadium backdrop that fits in like a jigsaw puzzle.
That's pretty cool.
So I want to. That's part of the reason I want to complete the set. And it's only 66 cards. It's not like, it's not like a 72 tops.
Yeah, a lot of your sets, like the Red Heart's a small set and the 48 Bowman's a small set.
Yeah. So there's my rationalization. All right. So I don't have any. I don't have any pirate cards. But
Pirate cards. I mean, I told the story the other day, I think,
yeah.
that I was at a show, I was talking to a tobacco card dealer, and I saw one of these things in his case, and it wasn't this one. This is the card in the set. And
Right.
I was like, this is the most beautiful card I've ever seen. When you see them in person, they're stunning.
Yep.
And I was just like, this is an amazing item. And the guy's like, I'll sell it to you for $20. And the more I looked at it, I'm like, I need some of the other ones. This Blackbeard one just sold in a 6 at a non-sport auction, kind of off the beaten trail non-sport auction, and it was over $5,000 for a 6.
Wow.
Um, it's it has become a very big card. I bought this too from a guy. I paid a little over $400 for this too, and but it is the card. There's a couple other big cards. I mean, I have a Captain Morgan. I don't know if I sent a picture of that one, but it's I'm holding
Well,
it up here,
we
and
do have the photo. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You did. Okay,
okay.
there it is.
So the Captain Morgan is a big one because of the rum,
It's there was a you had a pirate card at the National
Yep,
that I held in my hands. Was it
yep.
this one? Okay.
No, it wasn't this one.
Oh,
It was not a big name. It was a higher grade. In high grade, because these things are from 1888. So like that Captain Morgan, a 6 of that sold at that same auction I was telling you about the other day for almost a couple $1,000s.
yeah.
I bought this 4.5 for a very, very, very good deal. Like a couple hundred, which is insane. The one that I got at the National was a 5, which was a surprise gift from a friend.
Yeah.
I did my first day video, and I went around and I was like filming stuff, and I was like, oh, I need that pirate card, but I'm not going to spend that much money on this one today because I'm buying other stuff. And a friend watched the video that was at the show, bought it, and then gave it to me. So very, very generous. Yeah, but so there are about 4 or 5 big cards, and then the rest are, it's basically the condition. Anything in a 5, 6, 7 sells for a lot just because of like set registry reasons and wanting to have a high grade set. They go for lots. The lower grade ones, that card in a 2 is it should sell for uh $250. That one right there is probably more like a $800 or $900 card. I just got a really crazy deal on it.
All right. So now we're in nostalgia.
So that, yeah, the last piece of my collection. Again, the way I look at my collection is I collect Yankee captains. I collect, kind of 40s, 50s, 60s specific cards of specific players. Nothing broad. Just kind of I like that Warren Spawn card, so I'm going to buy that Warren Spawn card, kind of thing.
Right.
The T206 Hall of Famers, the Pirate cards, and then kind of these nostalgia cards, the cards from as a child. I wanted an 86 Topps Jerry Rice, but I didn't have the money to buy it. I wanted a Joe Montana rookie. I didn't have the money to buy it. And that's what this last kind of grouping of
Yeah.
what my collection really is.
Yeah.
Um,
These are eights too, so they're pretty nice looking cards. Yeah.
I figure the way I looked at it was a 9 is going to be at probably 5 times the price.
Yeah.
And so I'll just buy a really, really nice 8. And I think these are both really nice 8s. So
Yes.
uh, I bought them for 20% of the 9 price.
Oh, smart.
And then these 2 cards, same thing. This is my collection. Like, this is what I'm into is those 2 cards growing up in Northern California
Yep.
were like the big cards in cases that as a kid, I'm like, I'll never have a McGuire Olympic card. I bought that McGuire Olympic card in an 8 for like $12. And so you don't have to spend a lot of money to
No.
scratch the nostalgia itch. You can buy an 85 Fleer Kirby Puckett at a show for like $5 or $10, and so a lot of the times when I go to local shows and stuff, this is the sort of stuff that I'll buy. Is this stuff cheap? You know?
And of course, that Jose Canseco. Jose Canseco, by the way, um, 2 things about him. His numbers are actually borderline Hall of Fame numbers.
Yeah,
And he is very popular in the hobby because of this, what you're talking about.
yeah,
Guys of a certain age, this was the card.
yep,
And so people collect Canseco. I actually think I sold Canseco cards this weekend. I was a dealer at a small show in Brooklyn
yeah.
this weekend, yesterday. And I think I sold a Canseco card that I had in like the 88 or 87 tops or whatever.
Yeah.
It sold. So
I went and got an autograph from Jose Canseco a couple years ago, and my brother hates A-Rod. My brother hates A-Rod. My brother's a huge Yankee fan. Like, he watches every game, and he hates A-Rod. And so Canseco hates A-Rod because
right.
A-Rod stole Canseco's girlfriend. So
Yeah.
A-Rod or Canseco will say, "Merry Christmas, everyone," except A-Rod on his Twitter account, And so when I met Canseco to get his autograph a couple years ago, I go, "Hey, Jose, the only person on the earth that hates A-Rod more than you is my brother." And A-Rod starts laughing, or Canseco starts laughing. He goes, "What do you do to your brother?" I go, "He just hates him, dude." Yeah. So these are nostalgia cards. You got a Yoda rookie card. That's Yoda's rookie card. And you
Rookie.
could
Okay.
you can
So
scratch it.
a
I don't know what
fictional
that card is.
character in a movie.
That might
That's
be a $30 card, But then the Atom Bomb card, that's Series 1, the card on the box, the iconic Garbage Pail Kid card. And I bought that a couple years ago, and I'm just like, I need this. Like, I need to have these things. And I love having these. So
well,
it's what I
1985
collect.
was the year I graduated from college, so I don't have any knowledge whatsoever.
I was 6.
Yeah.
So that was the card you wanted, though.
I
And then I
remember
got a couple more
1985.
nostalgia cards. I think I got a couple more nostalgia cards on the next one, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
I bought that Canseco a couple years ago, and I sent a picture of it to my dad and my brother, and I said, I just picked up an 85 tops Hulk Hogan in a 7, and I couldn't be happier. And my dad responded, he says, "I'm just glad we finally have one in the family collection." And then those 81 Donruss cards, I love that set. I have that complete set. I probably have 5 of that card. I've got like 20 of the Tom Watson from that set.
Let me ask you a question for golf. I don't have any golf fans on this channel, probably, but maybe I do. Um, this is Nicholas's rookie card, right? But does it
Well, it's his
first?
first wide release
Right,
card.
right,
He has some other cards that are far more expensive.
right.
People will call that his rookie card, but it's not his rookie card. I mean, even the Sportscaster card that I got autographed, um, here, I'll show you, is older. This is from the 70s.
Is it 74?
70, 78 or 79, I think. So this right here is,
Oh yeah,
it's got a glare. That's from 77 to 79, the Sportscaster. I think this
right.
is the Italian one. They came out in a few different, yeah, this one was the Italian one. So he has several other cards. They're just not necessarily as widely released.
Right,
So
right.
people will call this a rookie card. So, but it's not his best card, and it's not his rookie card if you ask me. But it's that in an 8 is, I don't know, it might be $150 card in an 8. $100 card in an 8, maybe, I don't know.
It's a great card.
Yeah.
Although I have to say that you know, I never talk about politics on my channel, and you talked about how you basically collect cards to avoid thinking about
Yeah.
politics.
Yeah.
Both of these guys have been in the news in the last year for their
Well, I
political.
knew Hogan did. I didn't know about Nicholas.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, but they're athletes, and these are great, iconic cards, no question about it.
Yeah.
So my nostalgia is baseball, and this was my favorite player when I was a little kid. And then they traded him to the Giants in 1975 and broke my heart. But I collect Mercer simply because, to me, it's nostalgia. None of these cards are really worth more than, a couple bucks each. Although his 71's a high number. If you get a high grade of that, it's $150 card, whatever. But it's easy to collect this kind of stuff. So I'm
He
not
was
investing.
supposed to be the next guy. He was hyped. He was the prospect.
Yeah, he's from Oklahoma. He was an outfield. Well, he started out as a shortstop, became an outfielder, just like Mantle. And he
Yep.
had, for a couple of years, he was an all-star. He was all-star starter a couple of years.
Hmm.
So, legitimate player. Collect a lot of it. This isn't everything. There's a lot though, that you can get. Like the guys from this era, they have so many cards. It's like, I just every time I see a Mercer card, I just pick it up for $1 or two or whatever. So,
Yeah.
um, so we're in 134. Not bad.
It's pretty long, but you know, the way I always look at these conversation things is you and I are going to have a good time. And if some people are interested in staying on this long, good for them. And if they wanted to turn it off, good for them. But we're going to have a good time talking about this stuff. So,
Well, I mentioned Dylan in the beginning, and Dylan and I did this, and it was like an hour and 25. And he and I both, like you and I, like to talk,
yeah.
but it's fun. It was so much fun, and by the end of it, I was like, I had a great amount of fun. This guy is great. I can't wait to see him again. And so, like, I put it up thinking, it'll get couple hundred views. It's over 1,000, which for me
Oh,
is
that's
like
good.
double. Like a good
Yeah.
video on my channel gets 500 views.
Well,
Average
the
is like,
thing about it too is,
yeah,
for me personally, like Adam and Dylan do their turn back the clock, which is one of my favorite things to listen to.
yep,
But it's perfect while I'm driving. They're not showing much. It's just talking. It's basically a podcast.
yeah.
And so if somebody's going to put this on their TV and watch it and they want to see our faces, more power to them. But, and you show the cards in case people want to see the cards. But I mean, that's kind of the way I look at my channel for the most part. Is people go, your videos are so long. I go, they're not really meant to be videos. It's sort of like how Dan Patrick does a podcast, but he also has video of it. It's more of that. It's just,
I
I
will
just
admit,
love talking about it.
I have consumed your content while in the car.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and if I miss something, I'll go back and watch the card or whatever. Sometimes when I'm at a light, I'll watch the video. But you
Hmm.
know, you're right. I mean, Dylan actually confessed to me that he never watches any of my videos, but
Yeah.
he's heard every single one of them.
Well,
It's like,
I did a video that I released a couple days ago, and it was of it was about 75% of my autograph collection. And Dylan was setting up. His wife is a freelance artist, and so they
yes,
do booths and stuff where they live and sell stuff. And he was setting up for a couple hours and was listening to this 30-minute of me showing autographs. And he texted me, goes, "Man, that was awesome." He goes, "I didn't see a single one of these autographs, but I loved that." And I'm just like, it's just you don't have to see it. Like it's just like a book. A
yeah.
book has an image that you're designed to see, but you don't get to see it, but you get to create the image. So it's a book on tape.
Well, we did show a lot of cards and a lot of real good ones too. So hopefully, I'll get some watches, some views from that. But my friend, I am so thankful that we are friends. I'm so thankful that we got to hang out at and a little bit at Strongsville, but a lot at the National, and
Yeah.
a lot coming up. Hopefully,
Yeah.
I really value your opinion, and you are very helpful to me in terms of like the name of this video. Being able to define your collection a little bit better. I'm not going to sell all these crazy things, but I'll be more patient and more what's the word for it? A little more discriminating, so to speak.
There you go. And likewise, I mean, honestly, like I enjoy our friendship. I love communicating and texting and laughing with you and stuff. And I'm at the point now where you've invited me on now twice, and I haven't had you on yet. So I'm definitely I am definitely in a pickle. I'm in the rundown and I'm wearing out, and it's not because I don't want to have you on. I haven't really had many collaborations for about the last month and a half because m- uh just my just everything going on. It's just there's just so much.
Okay.
And we're going to be in Hawaii over Christmas, and it's hard to do stuff on the road over Thanksgiving. We're gone, but we do need to set a date, because
Okay.
I would love to pick your brain on a few things, and I think it would be fun, and it would be my pleasure to have you on. So I look forward to doing that. So this is the second of many conversations that we'll have with the video camera rolling.
Your invitation is accepted.
Well, we talked about it since the National. I actually approached you at the National about coming on, and that's how far behind I am, but I'll get caught up.
That's all right. Well, we did the Ray from Philly show, which I really
Yeah.
liked with Chris.
That was fun.
And then we did the live stream, which got actually a lot of Tony's discussions of his family got a lot of
Yeah.
attention, because
Yeah.
it was important. That's
Yeah.
got a lot of views. And then we're going to be on again Thursday night live
Yeah. I'm excited.
with our
I'm
president.
excited. Yep. And plus all the communication that we have off camera. So
Yep.
that's some of the fun stuff too. You guys always have me laughing with the banter that everybody has. So it is such a great group of people. It is so much
Yeah.
fun to be a small piece of it. So
Yeah. I get to express my sense of humor, which I like to define it, to get it to be curated well. So anyway,
yeah.
now I'm rambling. So viewers, next week I gave you a little bit of a hint about what we're going to have, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to be in Philly on Saturday. On Sunday, I'm going to be recording with another very special guest, who I set up the show at the National. So it's been also a long time to get that one together. And then I'll do a Philly show, and then some other things. But Graig, obviously, thank you so much for coming on. And obviously, everybody who's watching this video should go. I will put Graig's link to his channel in the description. Your content is fantastic. I watch it all the time, or I listen to it in the car all the time. But really enjoying the series that you have going now. So anyway, viewers, thank you very much. Graig, thank you very much. See you next week, guys.